Okay, I've got no idea if this is working, so I'm gonna open up my laptop and navigate to my channel to see if this is actually broadcasting on my channel. So I'm using some new software, I'm using some new equipment, and I just want to see if it's actually working the way I expect it to work. Let's see here. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's see here. Alright, so this is good. Yeah, I'm glad this is working. So I'm using some new software, and I'm going to just look through some channels and look through some scriptures right now, and then hopefully when I play videos from YouTube, the audio will be captured and you'll be able to hear it, so that if in future I want to do a breakdown of someone's footage, I'm not playing it off camera, you're actually hearing it as I watch it. So first I'll navigate over here to Bishop Robert Barron, and I was referencing this video the other day. So let me see if you can hear that. Hold on.
Our first glimpse of Jesus the fighter
video the other day.
is at Bethlehem, in the stable over which the Church of the
Oh, cool.
Nativity
So you actually hear it as I hear it.
The Christmas story is not just a charming tale we tell to children. It's full of this motif of Jesus the warrior, the one who's come to fight. C.S. Lewis, the great English writer, said that Jesus came so quietly in this unobtrusive way because he was meant to slip clandestinely behind enemy lines.
It was this part here.
In the Roman Forum stands the Arch of Titus, which was built to commemorate the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans in 70 AD. You can see on the inside of the arch a depiction of Roman soldiers carrying the menorah from the temple. Those soldiers and those who made the arch probably thought that's the end of the Jewish religion. That's the end of the God of Israel. The supreme irony was that at that very moment, as people like Peter and Paul and their Christian companions came here to Rome, the God of Israel was coming in the person of Jesus to Rome, and through Rome to all the world.
Just leave it there. I just thought that was a nice point, you know, but also you can see the significance of that 70 AD date, what it meant, you know. It was the end of the old covenant system of doing things, and it changed the world. It brought us into a new world, and we'll look at some scriptures there. But you know, regarding end times, there would be some certain people would look to and look at as anticipated a future eschatology, you know, as I was awaiting this return of Jesus, as you do as a Christian that's new to the faith and experienced in all the different debates and discussions that go on within. And I was once brought here to the Prophecy Club, okay, and Ken Peters, this is someone I used to listen to. I can tell you everything he says in this 2 hour and 30 minute video. We won't go through it all, but I sometimes make reference to the ground receiving small explosions and people busting out the ground as I tell you what a futurist might imagine would happen in a rapture scenario or a resurrection scenario at the end. And I get that from this gentleman here.
Not intoxicated. I was not under the influence of any hallucinogenic drugs, although there had been some times I had smoked marijuana and had drank in my life. The night that I had this dream, I did not go to bed in a condition of stupor or intoxicated or anything like that. I fell asleep, and it was one of those types of nights when you kind of can tell you're falling asleep. You kind of, drift off, and you know you're just about asleep. just as soon as I fell into sleep, this dream began to start. It started with a very, very, very loud noise. The best description that I can give to you would be to tell you it sounded like a car horn from the 70s. How many remember what car horns sounded like in the 70s? They were very loud horns in those days. Or now they're just kind of a little beep, 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 beep kind of horn. But in those days, I mean, if you really laid on the horn, they were loud. This kind of sounded like that, except for it was extremely loud, very ear-piercing, and it lasted for a long period of time, kind of like a stuck horn. Has anyone ever heard a stuck horn?
Yes.
It was very similar to that. Right at that moment of hearing this, I was given the ability, again, I'll share with you some things that seem to be very chronological in how this dream worked out. And yet, in some places, I can't tell you specific time frames because it was almost as though I was interjected into different situations without the understanding of time moving along. Some things were just very panoramic. It was just a wide, big picture that I saw. But at this point of the dream, I was given the opportunity to see kind of from the heavens looking down on the earth. And what I saw was that I was able to see, the globe was kind of out here like this, and I was able to see very clearly many cemeteries and graveyards. Then I was brought very close to many of these graveyards, and what I saw was a very unusual thing to me. It was that the ground was breaking open. Literally, the dirt was breaking open kind of violently, and people were coming out of the graves. I'll tell you that as a Catholic, I prayed many, many times that I believed in the resurrection of the dead. But I don't really believe at that point, in the dream especially, that I was persuaded that that would actually happen. I know now that that's what I saw. I saw dead people resurrected from the graves. The condition that they came out was very unusual. And the other thing that was unusual is that one cemetery plot headstone would have a person come out of the dirt, and one next to it would not. It seemed to be kind of a not just random, but kind of a categorized launching, so to speak, of these people out of the dirt. Again, it was very violent. It was almost as though the dirt was receiving a small explosion or something and breaking open. And I literally saw dirt flying. And I saw this all over the globe. It wasn't just in one area. It wasn't just in, say, the United States. It was all over. And when people would begin to come out, their appearance, two things about their appearance first astounded me. The first thing was that the clothes they were wearing seemed to be like a choir robe. They were kind of like a long dress, so to speak, a cloak almost hanging off them. But in the middle of the day, it was like those outfits that entertainers wear when they're under the lights, and the lights, key in on them, and the sequins kind of make the light just shoot off and they glimmer. These people came out in the middle of the day glimmering. Their outfits and their person was brighter than the sun. I wish I could explain that to you, other than I could see the brightness of these people coming out. Men, although they had these robes on, appeared to be very, very masculine. I always used to think that, those robes I had to wear when I graduated from school kind of looked kind of feminine, But these things that these people were wearing were masculine, and yet when women were resurrected, they looked very feminine. Again, I'm going to give you the dream exactly as I saw it. Some things I wish sounded more exciting, and other things I wish were just a bit tamer, but I'm going to give it to you exactly as I saw it. These people that came out, it was difficult for me to explain this over the years. Older people would come out with the appearance that they were old, but they weren't old. You could tell that they had lived a full life, maybe 80 years, 75 years, something like that. But say, for instance, their hair that was lost was back again. They looked mature, but they didn't look aged. Okay? Young people, I saw a lot of young people resurrected, and although they looked very young, they weren't very young. There was a maturity about them. I wish, again, I could clearly define how this appeared during the dream. The position that I was in at this time didn't give me the allowance to understand these things because of the staunch Catholicism.
It's going to follow it for another couple of minutes, then I'll comment on it.
I had never heard of Protestant Christian practices. I had never been to a Protestant church. I had never experienced someone witnessing to me the gospel of Jesus Christ and the plan of salvation. I had never read the book of Revelation. And to be very, very frank with you, even to this day, it would have been a lot easier for my life if I would have never been given this dream. I wanted to just kind of do my thing and carry on with my life. I thought it was going just fine until this began to happen. I never saw them go up. I never saw them go away. They just vanished. Okay? One thing I can tell you is I did not see one person on planet Earth changed like we've read in the Bible where it says, you know, the dead in Christ shall rise first, and those which are alive and remain shall be changed. I didn't see anybody at that point, when I saw these people come out of the grave, changed or get zapped out of planet Earth, meet the Lord in the clouds. I didn't see anything like that, okay? Again, I need to tell you, I had never heard of a rapture. As a Catholic, second coming of Christ was not even a dogma of our church. We didn't practice the belief in a second literal coming of Jesus Christ.
And I'll stop it there. So I used to watch this and I would grow concerned about the time of the end, and I'd think, well, we must be in it, you know. This man's had this dream, and he seems to be a rather persuasive person. He comes across as really genuine. He's sharing an experience with enthusiasm, and it doesn't seem like he's made it up. At least you can't really tell. Maybe you can look at him and see, actually, he looks like a bit of a snake oil salesman. But it comes across as quite a genuine testimony. And so I lived in anticipation of these things happening. But he's talking about the second coming of Christ and not really being aware of it. And meeting Jesus in the air and that not really happening. And there's wee missteps there I'm seeing. That's not to say that his vision might not come true. It might just be that it happens in a different way. Like it's something new. It has to be something new. And the reason I say that is because of the testimony of Jesus Christ when he says, you won't finish going through the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. And most assuredly I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste of death till the Son of Man comes. And then we also have in various places, like Matthew 23, talking about the vengeance of all bloodshed coming upon that generation. And this is reiterated and stressed in various places too in Luke, is it chapter 11, where it's stressed upon being the generation to whom he is referring. There is no debate about that, and I can reinforce that scripture again, but I won't do it in this video. And again, the book of Revelation, the book of things which must shortly come to pass, you know, there's just these missteps. There's these wee missteps, like these wee, oh, I can't actually answer these things in a convincing way if I've got a futurist idea of the end. It can't be done. When Jesus again says in Luke 21:8, anyone who says the time's drawn near when it hasn't, do not go after them, do not follow them. You know, these are false prophets. Well, in various places in the New Testament we're told it's the end is drawn near, the days, you know, it's here, it's at the doors, and we don't throw those people under, you know, we don't say these people are heretics. We listen to their testimony, and if we're going to do that, then we need to accept that the second coming was in the first century. But I like the way this person explains things, because it has a sort of satisfying note to it. Here he's going to talk about the mark of the beast.
I was on my way to conduct another business transaction, and I ran into an individual. A very strange thing happened at this point. He was very, very excited and began to talk to me about something he had just experienced. I'm going to go fairly quickly with this so that we can move along. This is a very poor rendering, but we are putting together a very good rendering of this. This man has said to me, Ken, I introduced myself to him. He was very excited. He said, have you got your identification mark? And I said, I don't know what you mean. What's an identification mark? He says, they've just enacted a new identification mark. And by the way, this started with a voluntary implementation first. You did it voluntarily first. This man told me you ought to get yours done real soon to avoid the hassle, because soon everyone, they say, will have to have this to conduct business. Now, what I want to show you is, this is a poor drawing because we weren't artists, and I am a stick guy drawer, so please bear with me tonight. I will explain what the one I saw looked like. On the web of the right hand, this individual had what looked to be like the sunburst of Mexico. Anybody ever see the sunburst of Mexico? You know, it looks like a sun with a face on it. That's what this kind of appeared like, except these rays right here, they didn't look like that at all. If you could picture in your mind the sunburst, and then all of a sudden, like a hologram, beams were coming out of it as rays, okay? This was another palm. This is upside down. I don't know why that happened. We made a mistake. Actually, I didn't do this, but I'll take responsibility, because I don't want my friend to get the bad rap on this. I love that guy, so yeah, I do. I don't want to tell about him. This hand actually was facing just like the right hand was here, the same direction. Excuse me, it was inside of this, and there was another emblem just like this one on this hand, like you see in the web. Okay, this guy was very excited about this. He was very happy because he said, hey, we won't have to use these stupid cards anymore. At this point in the dream, we were already at the point of using cards to transact everything. You say, how do you know that this will happen? I hosted about 18 missionaries, high school missionaries from British Columbia 3 months ago at my house. And they're on their way to Mexico. They were bummed out because they couldn't use their Canadian smart cards in America. For convenience sake, Canada is getting rid of cash because the Canadians don't like carrying the loonies and the toonies. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
Those are big, heavy coins that are a pain in the rear end to carry around because they're very, very heavy. And so for convenience sake, they're implementing this process. Now, this mark, I want to tell you about it, was very strange to me at this point, because shortly after the dream, actually, no, not shortly, again, I want to get these dates correct for you. 1993, the Lord spoke to my heart and said, take up the game of golf. And I said, that probably wouldn't be a good idea, Lord, because you remember my temper in high school with golf, and I would probably lose my testimony on the golf course.
Like, that's a good excuse to say to your wife, isn't it? Oh, God told me to take up golf, so I can't, I can't make that family dinner with the in-laws. I'm sorry.
Are you sure you want me to play golf? He says, yes, I want to have you get relaxation and teach you about character. You need some. I said, okay, Lord, I'll...
Good. I mean, golf is a Scottish invention after all, so I'm quite happy to hear that it's used in that way. No, that's the wrong thing.
Do that. And so I began to take up golf, and like most other golfers, you either love it or hate it. I totally loved it. I dressed the part, I had the clubs, but I couldn't play. And so I would buy my golf balls at Kmart because they were very, very inexpensive there. If you go to the golf course, the same golf balls that Kmart has, ladies, you can bust your husbands tonight too. When they try to tell you that, those golf balls cost 35 bucks, you can get the same ones at Kmart for about $12. Okay? And I would buy the real cheap ones because I played on very nice courses, because I like to hang around really nice people, and I didn't have a good golf game, and so I would lose about 6 or 8 balls a round. Anyway, I'm at Kmart, and I hope if you work at Kmart you're not mad at me tonight, but what I'm going to tell you is a shocker, and it's been confirmed now in 4 cities on the tour. I went up to pay for my golf balls, and as I put them down on the counter, I looked down and noticed this very unusual pad on the checkout counter. You know how you go to the grocery store where they weigh the vegetables and stuff? The little pad there? Well, at this Kmart, there was a little, like about the size of this overhead tonight, about an 8.5 by 11 gray colored pad with a hand sitting down on it with the, not exactly that, because again that's a very poor rendering. We will get the new rendering out, by the way. Stan was telling me we'll get it to you. But I saw this exact, it's one of the most famous drawings that have ever come out of the Prophecy Club. This really rattled Stan because he's a perfectionist and he likes everything just right for y'all. And so we were there. At this point, I saw a very, very, again, unusual thing with this man's hand, this agitation. I got very frightened, and something spoke inside of my stomach and said to me, get out of here as fast as you can. And I began to think, oh my goodness, it is the end of the world now. It is really the end of the world.
And we do see this with the radio frequency identification chips that people have inserted into them, and they also have these, like he's talking about this kind of iridescent thing that would go into the soft tissue here in the palm, and that would be very useful, you know, there wouldn't be too much interference with the skin there, and you could put something in there and have these ones that are a bit like a very thin silicon mesh that you can just place on the skin or maybe just under the skin. And maybe you could use that for convenience, but I just don't see that being rolled out in the near future because of the risk of infection and people just not wanting to do it, considering that this kind of knowledge is kind of out there in the conspirasphere, you know, people know not to get the mark of the beast, so I just don't see that happening. I mean, it could happen. Certainly a move towards a cashless society would seem to be a reasonable thing to prophesy on, you know, as we move towards these plastic cards and smartphone payments and all the rest of it. And in China, we see, let me tell you about China, okay? In China, we hear that if you don't behave in certain ways, your credit score goes down, you're not allowed to fly in planes and things. So certainly this kind of tyrannical ideal that is in the Book of Revelation is being played out in real life in China right now. And could it happen in other countries if they lose their liberal democratic ethos? Then it very well could, yeah. You know, and there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing to say that these kinds of things could happen. But my point is that prophecy, the narrative of Jesus's mission and second coming and all the rest of it, that has its fulfillment in the first century. As it says in Luke 21:22, Jesus says, "These are the days of vengeance, that all things written will be fulfilled." And you have to try to make him not say what he's saying there. So we have this fulfillment in the first century, and then we have these sensational ideas, and I don't know, maybe Ken Peters made this all up. It would certainly make a good film, but we can see some wee ideas here that make us think, you know. And I won't go into it now. He gets on to the whole FEMA camp things and the guillotines that are used and how he suffers that fate. You can watch the whole video yourself sometime if you want to. I watched it and I believed it. Let's see what some of these comments say. Anybody watching on March 25th, 2019 or after, this certainly does make sense given what we know right now. May God bless you and may Jesus come for us quickly. I usually don't have the patience for any video longer than 12 minutes, but once you start this one, you are compelled to hear him. There is something great I learned from this. If we do not denounce, and we were to be beheaded, Christ will take our soul before the head is cut, so we won't feel the pains. Before that, we might feel very afraid, but remember, the devil roars like a lion, but it's all useless. That's true, you don't feel the pains. Just, if they take you into the FEMA camp, go for the guillotine, you know. We're not above that. We're not above that. I have been researching truth since 9/11. I love that. And I've gone deep into the rabbit hole which eventually brought me to Christ. All this rings true with my research. Jesus is Lord. Let's give that a like. I am so grateful for being a believer. Thank you, Jesus. I'll give that a like. Around this point, he said that judgment won't come until the homosexual community began to lay hands on the church, and that the church will lose its tax-exempt status. I'm not going to touch that. When this Antichrist appears, we must remember this man's prophecy. That's right, he talks about the Antichrist coming into the scene, this new presidential candidate, a man who he describes as being very charming and handsome. This was a powerful testimony. Well, it was a powerful testimony. But was it a real testimony? Did he interpret it in the correct way? Okay, let's leave a comment ourselves. Hey, this is a very interesting video. I was told not to get this kind of keyboard that I have. is it I don't know the different terminology you use. It's got nice colours in it and stuff. I didn't actually buy it, my brother got it for me, but I find it more difficult to type on than the smooth plush surface of like my MacBook. You kind of get used to typing on different things. Hey, this is a very interesting video, but did you know that Jesus predicted his return in the 1st century? What? Yeah, so come and check out my videos on this topic and have your and discuss your thoughts in the comment sections. God bless you. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comment. Right, the next person we're going to turn to is Paul Begley. Paul Begley, someone that I would always have. I'd subscribe to him. I would find him a little bit insufferable, but at the same time, he's got stuff to say. You know, he has things to say, and you better listen to it. So let's see. He kind of talks about the end times. So let's find something kind of like end timey to go on here. Let's click on this one here.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Shop the Apocalypse, the Christmas special. This is a Christmas edition to Shop the Apocalypse. I'm stunned over this story, but in the Walmart stores in Canada, and this is a CNN report. I repeat, a CNN business report. But this is a sweater that was being sold in Walmart in Canada. Cocaine Santa. Now, it says, let it snow, but the reference, look at the Santa. He's kind of creepy anyway. I don't know what that is in his hand here. You can see his hand over here. You see this? I don't know what that is exactly, but it looks like it's a straw or something. He's got 3 lines here. There's the pile of snowballs. Okay. Apparently that's the cocaine. That's certainly 3 lines of cocaine.
Yeah,
and let it snow, which is also a reference to cocaine. But we got a creepy Santa, cocaine Santa on a Walmart sweater. What? What is happening to this world's gone mad? But according to CNN reports.
Okay, I've seen enough here. I think it's time to leave a comment. I've just come from the Ken Peters Dream video regarding the end times, but it is this video that confirms to me that we are living in the last days. Send the nukes. I don't know. That's just I just want to get to the end. Let's skip to the end and see what his conclusion is.
Amazon. That's done intentionally. I mean, you got to be. How did that happen? Okay. But anyway, Shop the Apocalypse. Here we go. It's getting ugly out there. We got a lot of stuff, and you won't believe the show we have tonight at 10 o'clock. You don't even want to know.
I love this. This is what I need to do to get 300,000 subscribers. Just talk about Santa Claus taking cocaine, and I know this guy loves his coffee. Maybe I could get into my wine. I'll just start an unhealthy drinking habit. I mean, caffeine, alcohol. I mean, it's all. I don't know. It's pretty intoxicating stuff, you know. And then tell you about my news report later on that you're just not going to be ready for.
Brock has found 5 stories that's going to blow your mind.
Who's Brock?
And we're going to talk about it on our show. It's like, come on. This is the apocalypse has come to December. I mean, this is a December.
You can't even get the words out. The apocalypse is so happening right now.
Remember, I'll be back with more. Give your life to Jesus Christ. Oh my Lord, have mercy.
He doesn't care. Like, this is a complete performance. He does not give a flying duck about these sweaters. He does not think the end is coming. It looks like he's just about to, I don't know, take a wee nap or something. Cosmic Pulse coming today. Waves of Energy. A 2-hour long video on that. That sounds a bit more monotonous than my videos. I'm kind of curious what other people had to say about this video. Let's see. Santa Claus, he's the South Park Christmas poo. That's what he looks like. Lol, it's getting weirder by the day. Sounds like Trudeau's approval. Santa's eyes are dilated. I shouldn't be laughing so hard. Bad, bad Scott. They thought it was just another ugly sweater. Lol. Cocaine Santa shot out a massive volcano into a Canada wall. I don't know what that means. Cocaine makes you feel like you're all dressed up and nowhere to go. Mick Jagger. I don't know that quote. Okay, Paul. As you're ripping people off every day, what's worse? Oh my goodness. Like. Oh my god, are you serious? What a slap in the face. More nonsense to keep the clueless busy. This is good stuff. So, one of the main people I turned to, because I was looking for guidance in these end times, was a fella called Scott Clark, or Scotty Clark, and his channel Eternal Rhythm Flow has all these charts and star charts and predictions and blood moons and all the rest of it. So this is Scotty Clark's channel here, and if we click on his videos we can see that he has deleted a lot of his videos. Yeah, he used to have a lot more videos than this. He has taken away quite a lot. So we have one from 1 month ago and one from 7 years ago in the same screen. He used to have pages and pages of this stuff. But you know, sometimes I found his work to be entertaining, and you know, it was something to look at for guidance, you know. So we have here Left Behind by Scotty Clark. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry, I will stop that right now. So that's what Scotty Clark is. He likes to make his songs, which is fine, that's his art form. And he talks about the end. He used to have all these charts, as I say. Escape to Where, I'll See You in the Air. I'm guessing that's another song. I love this song, it's very encouraging, never gets old. Thanks for producing this for the Saints. Good song, my favourite. Oh, we can sing along! Yes! I can't listen to him. I can't listen to him. That's mostly because I don't agree with the guy, you know, and if you read stuff online about him, you hear that he's, I don't know, he's made some unwise choices. He's made some unwise choices. I just don't know how someone can look into these things for 7 years, or maybe he wasn't looking into it back then. But at least from 3 years ago, he's been looking into eschatology, and he hasn't really evolved in his views at all. I don't think that's a very good thing. The Sabbath salutation. What's that? Was the body of Christ on the Mosaic Law. He seems to be taking that up quite a bit. I suppose there are a few people out there who do follow the Torah. They say it's a... What do they say it is? It's a righteousness thing? It's a sanctification thing? I don't know. I'd be very careful about that, considering we're told specifically not to. Someone else I'd follow would be that character called Scrawny to Brawny. And he was good at like showing you how the Illuminati was and everything. This is the original Illuminati expose channel, and if I click on the videos here, I can see he has deleted all of his videos. He used to be a lot more than this. Still, he's got some really good stuff. Like this video here on the teachings of Jesus is actually really nicely made, if I remember correctly. And right now he's decoding Back to the Future, which I don't know what that entails. Maybe we can check out a little bit of that. But the Teachings of Jesus video I might recommend.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice, and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? And great was the fall of it. Take heed that ye do not do your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just a nice video that if you want to hear it, sometimes it's kind of like an audio book and you can just listen to the teachings of Jesus. Yeah, it's a nice video, I can give that a like. Back to the Future, decoded. Really? What are we going to find out from Back to the Future? Oh, I see it. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not really getting it. It's more like you're decoding the career of Christopher Lloyd as opposed to Back to the... Right, okay. What am I watching?
Michael, what was it I used to say was the #1 rule of leading an effective campaign staff?
Don't think you know all the answers.
Don't think you know all the answers.
I never knew he was in that. Spin City, that's nice. My pet goat. Picture of Jesus. Standing between the pillars. Ah. Chakras. The Rainbow Bridge. Ah, the Rainbow Bridge. What's the fancy name for that? The Bifrost, right. This is terrible. Where's the breakdown? Where's the analysis?
Is intended for mass consumption. Contact at Jupiter represents the death of the limited self and the rebirth into oneness. Wednesday Adam reads a note from Uncle Fester, played by Christopher Lloyd, then pronounces him dead, all in training with the death of our Lloyd and Zeus resonating eagle.
And very lonely, you will understand. Love, Uncle Fester. He's a dead man.
Go!
Wait, did that talk about a rainbow bridge? It did, didn't it? Then I said Bifrost. And I've got this rainbow writing pad right here that contains some of the musings of my older brother. And in it he exposes the Freemasons and the Illuminati and their plan for world domination. Maybe there's some kind of connection here, I don't know, between fringe beliefs and maybe not matters of substance, I don't know.
It's an American bald eagle.
But aren't they extinct?
They are now.
In the 1990 film Baby Geniuses, we see Christ Lloyd atop a pyramid, and this time also residing between two flanks.
And it's about time travel as well, isn't it? Christopher Lloyd's career as well, and Back to the Future, and my brother's writings are about time travel as well. In fact, I think it's in this Rainbow book as well. So in this Rainbow book, my older brother details his life thus far. And he's writing this in a mental institution, not really a mental institution, but a mental health hospital. And he's reflecting on the things that have put him in this situation. He says in nursery school he didn't go because he didn't like it. Then he says this was a mistake and he should have been made to go. He says in primary school, well, his first one was knocked down, it was old, and he didn't like it. And he didn't like the new environment of the new school, and he says he lacked the social skills, and partly because he didn't go to nursery school. High school, he says it was a shithole. College, he first studied social care, and he says fucking hell. So he wasn't a big fan of that. And then he went to study a HND, and during that time he says Dad died, and he says his mind fell apart. But he went to university and got a degree in economics to learn the whole system as a rigged cartel, as taught. He says at age 27 he worked out the Masons and the Eastern Star. At one point he tried to tell me that my partner might be giving me arsenic poisoning because she might be part of the White Shrine or something like that, some female movement associated with the Masons. He says I worked out the Masons and the Star. Is that the caves and mines, etc., and the church connections? And then he says, I am destroyed. I spent time sitting in a choir in front of... Sorry, yeah, this looks like he said that. I spent time sitting in a chair in front of a PC with extreme anxiety and broken mind. I spent my time trying to get better. I did. I made it back. I spent time learning about guns, building bullets, the exact speed and power. I made it back to something that I had been betrayed. Kept so far in the dark, I did not even know my own world. The history was false. Most, if not all, of the things I thought I knew were a lie. I had and still am being lied to from the people I thought were friends, the people I thought were family. I am still not in a good way in terms of like something mods from something. And he's talking about his tinnitus. He was for a while he went through a phase where he was often concerned about tinnitus. I could have easily died from suicide or stress. He was always up and high, not high as in high, but high as in like manic. I would never have known the world I had lived in. I would never have known if not for the Nazis. The MG42 MP40 Luger. I stopped looking at the guns one day and looked at them. So I think my brother had an interest in World War II and weaponry, and so he stopped looking at the weapons and he started looking at the Nazis. And then like this is not something. This is I don't know, man. This is not convincing, is it? I don't know if I can hold my shit together. The church, I worked for them while others did not, and the atheist too, something. This does not sit well with me. For such was the exclusion of not, I don't know, a drug addict. I was left to go mad. They, the church, went all over the world, ruled by master rulers. What did they do with the power? They fucked the world through drugs and credit cards and no morality, no ethics. Planet is to sell their products, their shit. They, the masses, fucked everything up. I, however, am happy to know the truth. I know what most others were doing while I suffered depression and anxiety. I don't blame God. No, people have free will. Every story, I don't know what this is, of mine is to tell the truth, a value my father said he believed in. I am glad that perhaps in the end I know the truth. I learned where God is, station to the sun. Then he's got something on time travel, where he's written about time travel. Clearly wasn't in a good way. And then he's drawn the Nazi symbol, and he says it's God is unity. The cross is a maze. All roads lead to God. It's a very spiritual take on the Nazis. I will say, like when he was in a good place and in a, of sound mind, he wasn't a sympathiser with the Nazi cause or anything like that. He just looked into it and obviously seen these patterns. He was schizophrenic. Yeah, there's not really much else to go on in this, is there? But the point to make here is that you can look for different signs and stuff and things, and it's not really a healthy thing to do sometimes.
Please marks the road to Atlantis, or the point of the risen Christ consciousness. Behold the Page Master, pitting Christopher Lloyd glowing with divinity, emerging from the space between two pillars.
Like a lot of this, like as Joe Rogan says, in the conspiracy side of things, you have got everything from just creative people making stories and role-playing and LARPing to this end of things where you have genuine paranoid schizophrenics. And it can be terrible, it can be terrible.
Indicating that he is the risen or resurrected Christ consciousness, complete with his title, Christ-bearer Holy Man. Again, Lloyd is residing in the space between two pillars as he voices the villain from the animated film Anastasia.
Nah, I think we can leave that there. We can leave that there. What have we got here? I've started listening to this comedic song producer, and I love synthwave now. It's so like mellow and like chill and yet nostalgic, you know. It's a bit ridiculous too, and I've never heard the song Summer Girls by LFO before, and I listened to it today and I thought this is a terrible song, but I enjoy what he's done with it. This is not good background music for scripture. I can't play that. Let's just look over here, okay? So Matthew 12, why am I on Matthew 12? Let's go Satan. Okay. A house divided cannot stand, yeah? This is the point I want to make here. Because we're told about Jesus, the binding, of Satan, aren't we? Because that's something that happens in Revelation, yeah? So let's look that up. Revelation, binding of Satan. Yep. So in Revelation 20, let's jump over here and pop up Rev 20. When I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So I have this binding, right? But we also see this image here, don't we? And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth. You know, it's funny when people press issues and say things like this to preterists. Oh, how can you believe that? How can you say that we live in the new covenant, in the new age, in the you know, in the new heavens and new earth? How can you say that's a reality today when there's still bad things going on in the world? And I just look at a picture like this and I say, you do see where it says the devil was in heaven for so long. It took to this point for the devil to get cast out of heaven. You know what I mean? And then you think of the original Garden of Eden. What was that? That was paradise. That was paradise. Do you think God went into the heads of people and lobotomized them in the new era so that there would be no evil, so that there would be no sin, so that human beings would stop being autonomous individuals capable of free will, or at least the perception of free will? No, we're still fallible beings, but we live in a world now where there can be access and relationship to God, and no one is without. No one is without hope. So we see here this war in heaven, okay, and what's happened? Well, the dragon, the devil, Satan, is cast out. He is cast out, okay? And what do we see here in Luke 10? Okay, we see, then the 70 returned with joy, saying, pardon me, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Isn't this wonderful? Because doesn't that kind of line up here with what we're talking about in Revelation here? Okay, so he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice, now is come salvation, and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down. Okay? So you see this? Now is come salvation. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. That is the testimony of the apostles. See? The celebration. And then these apostles go on to be martyred, don't they? We see that playing out right here in Revelation. Okay? And then, okay, when we have the binding, okay? When we haven't been bound, right? We look over here. So, then one who brought to him a demon-possessed man, blind and mute, and he healed him, so that the blind and mute man both spoke and saw. And all the multitudes were amazed and said, "Could this be the son of David?" Now when the Pharisees heard it, they said, "This fellow does not cast out demons except by Beelzebub, the ruler of demons." But Jesus knew their thoughts, and he said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. If Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, surely the kingdom of God is come upon you. Or how can one enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man? And then he will plunder his house. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad." So here we have this whole scene, this whole thing playing out from Revelation, right? We've got the war in heaven. Jesus specifically says in his time, he saw Satan, he saw this power being cast down. And he was manifesting the Spirit of God along with his disciples, along with the apostles. Okay? He was bound for a time, and we see this binding that occurred. What does Ephesians say? "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Yeah, I think, that could be taken into consideration too when we think about a war in heaven, couldn't it? This battle of forces that take place in a heavenly realm, and how Jesus supersedes all of that and overcomes it all. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Anyways, I think that's me said my piece.
St. Paul, once he had seen the risen Christ, understood this immediately. And that's why in all of his letters we find this phrase, Jesus Kyrios, Jesus is the Lord. Now to us that sounds like a rather bland spiritual statement. But in Jesus' time, those were fighting words. Because a watchword of the era was, Kaiser Kyrios, Caesar is the Lord. Caesar's the one to whom final allegiance is due. The message Paul had to the world was, no, not Caesar. Jesus Kyrios, Jesus is the Lord. On the slopes of the Capitoline Hill, St. Mark lived. And Mark wrote around the year 70 the first gospel. It was written a few years after Mark's friends, Peter and Paul, had been brutally put to death. And Mark wrote this in the opening line of his gospel. The good news about Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Again, it sounds spiritual enough to us, but those two were fighting words. Euangelion, that's the Greek he used, glad tidings, was a word used to describe an imperial victory. When Caesar won a great battle, he sent messengers ahead with the word Euangelion. There's good news about this victory. See what Mark is saying and how subversive it was. The real good news hasn't a thing to do with Caesar. It has to do with someone that Caesar put to death and that God raised from the dead. It has to do with Jesus Christ.
And I'll leave it there because I think that's good. Mirror XT, thanks for stopping by. Sonic Grace, hello. This is me just testing out my new kind of setup here, some of the new things that I've got going on here with the channel. So I have the ability now to stream from a nice decent webcam. I've got my microphone set up. I have some like studio lighting effects going on, and I also have this camera here that I'd like to use a bit more. just for making videos when I don't want to just use a webcam, but you know, when I want to make a more pointed and concise video, I can record it beforehand and then upload it. But I like this format for doing live streams now, so I think I'll do that in the future. So this is the thing I'm using here, and I can change things. So does that make it, let's just see if that makes the image go larger. There's a little bit of lag between, yeah, it does. And then I can make it go smaller again. Cool. So I might use this a bit more in the future. I think it's a really fun way to do things. It seems to be working perfectly fine, which I'm really happy about. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm going to have to, I should have been in bed a while ago, 3 AM here. But you know, I'm not really obeying any particular time zone right now. Alright, I'll give this a stop and I'll see how it worked out. God bless you all.